Hello beautiful people, it's Cinderella. Welcome to the channel. Today we're back again with another video. This is about Diddy, and this is about Diddy rejecting a plea deal. In fact, there are two videos from News Nation. One is if Diddy is gonna take a plea deal, and the other is Diddy rejecting the plea deal, which we're gonna check together. And I would love your thoughts and your contribution in the comments below. Let's dive right in.
Prominent trial attorney Dante Mills is here with me now to talk more about this. Dante, good to see you. Let's start with the plea deal. Don't know exactly what it is. You actually believe that it's not necessarily off the table yet? He might take a deal?
It's never off the table. And I handle a lot of cases, and that first deal, very rarely do you take. I think that's the start of the process. I know that it's going to have to be something where that he's not going to spend a substantial time in jail talking about 10 years or anything like that. Why would you take that? You would rather go to trial and see what the end result is. But if they can offer him something where it's in that 5-year range, and there's an understanding that he'll be cleared of everything else, it's going to be appealing to him.
Well, here's
5 years. 5 years.
thing, right? He wanted to go to trial as quickly as possible. He thinks he has the good.
Except for the fact.
So you think because that tape is coming in, it changes the whole game?
I think that tape absolutely changes the whole game. Listen, I know we're having a talk here. Let's just break it down. Sean Combs, Diddy, was a hero to a lot of people. He was a guy who pulled himself up by his bootstraps. He was known as a hard worker, but he worked hard and he played hard. That was a part of his lifestyle. To a lot of people, they wanted to be that. But heroes don't beat women. And when you see someone hit a woman the way he did and treat her that way, that hero nostalgia goes away. So there's a lot of people that wouldn't have convicted him, just said, oh, he was enjoying his life with these parties. But now they're going to look at him differently.
But here's the counter argument. He's not charged with sexual assault. He's not charged with battery. He's charged with sex trafficking. Now, the prosecution will say she was running away from a room where there was a sex worker in there. He drags her back to the room. That's the allegation. But the defense will say this was a unfortunate domestic spat. They know they're going in there. You think everything changed today because of what's allowed in? I mean, they did get some wins today in terms of what
they did. But we do know the law and most everything is about controlling the narrative. And if this jury, despite what the actual charges are, if they don't like who's in front of them, then they're more likely to believe the charges against them. That's just a fact. I've experienced that. That's why when you go into any trial, you want to make the defendant, you want to bring out the good in them. So jurors look at them a certain way. People are not looking at Sean Combs the way they used to. That glamour, that polish is gone. So they're going to be more likely to accept that he's done other bad things.
I think he...
Exactly. The video itself is no. A man putting his paws on a woman, no. Then, with other lawsuits, whether true or not, some details or whatever information or allegations, you look at it like, okay, something about this ain't right. But I don't think anybody, after watching the video, anybody got comfortable to take sides with Diddy, except for those other people that like it like that. Because there are some people who are still out there and about saying free Diddy. Because explain to me, yeah, he's innocent until proven guilty. But tell me, you saw him in that video. I know he's not prosecuted for that video, but obviously, what exactly would lead a man to that point? And the sex trafficking, racketeering. See, obviously, we know, like, for people to survive this long, they have to be the bad guys. And obviously, with the allegations that are presented before him or presented against him, he cannot be the only one doing this. He learned it from somewhere, which is quite interesting. But let's see how the trial will go. Shebi is a May.
Wanted everything in his power to get rid of the
that he's done other bad things.
I think he wanted everything in his power to get rid of the transportation to engage in prostitution charges, said they were racist charges, wanted to make sure the jury never considered him, because it seems to me those might be the easiest charges to actually convict him of, if he was actually transporting sex workers, hotel receipts, monetary receipts, travel receipts. But do you think this prosecution has a slam dunk case with racketeering, criminal enterprise, sex trafficking?
No, I don't think the racketeering is really going to go that far, because he ran a successful business, right? And it was about much more than these freak-offs or sex parties. Like, oh, that was almost like a side impact or a side effect of everything else that was going on. So it's going to be hard for them to say he put this together for the purposes of committing that crime. He's not making a ton of money. He's not profiting or anything like that off of these freak-offs. He's more using that just for his nostalgia and his prestige.
Let's say people testify who worked for him and said, yeah, we recruited these women. Yeah, he promised them benefits. We paid certain people. We brought in sex workers. Some people, there was allegations of forced labor, kidnapping, drug distribution, these underlying crimes for racketeering. Real quick thoughts on that?
Well, it's Diddy parties. People wanted to be at Diddy parties. So that's what the defense is going to put forward. Listen, people wanted to be a part of this, and Diddy was generous, right? So he did that not because he had to, but he was a generous person. They wanted to be there anyway.
Real quick, the prosecution said that they want to discuss this medical procedure that one of Combs' victims underwent. We don't know really what that's about, but it was allegedly he's going to show the degree of control Combs had. What on earth is that about?
If it shows some force, then you have to look at the body part. Is it the vaginal area? Is it maybe the wrist if somebody was tied? So that's what you're going to be looking for. What body parts are impacted? If it shows some kind of force to the point that she needed some medical care, maybe a surgery, that's going to make people say, okay, clearly maybe they were doing something against people's will. But again, he was a hero. People wanted to be around him. It's going to be hard to do that outside of this tape showing him beating a woman.
They won this win today. This forensic psychologist, Dr. Dawn Hughes, going to testify for the prosecution. She testified in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. She can't talk about coercive control, basically because it conflicts with what the legal definition is. And the jurors, by the way, they don't necessarily need an expert for a lot of this, right?
They're going to piece together if someone was there voluntarily or not. And again, I keep going back to this tape, the tape with the beating. That's why it's so important. Without that, the people wanting to be around Diddy is what everybody is going to think. But when they see him putting his hands on a woman, they're going to think he could do that to anybody, including these people who were coming to the party. And that's why they were afraid in those situations.
Caitlin, let's start with you.
True. Because that video alone, if it's already giving like bombastic side eye, sir, what are you doing? Something ain't right. Because nobody who saw that video comfortably or saw that video sat with themselves comfortably to say, oh, he's right or he's doing the right thing or they support him 100% and whatnot. Nobody is going to condone that type of behavior. So yeah, exactly. They're going to look at it like, okay, is other dealings. I don't think the party, whatever, is also going to be part of it. But obviously, the other activities, now, people, like, let's say, for example, the trafficking, whatever. Now, that is where, okay, the people that are being transported, trafficked, or whatever, that are involved in this, the control, the activity. Anyways, they're also gonna play the good side because obviously there are still people out there that are still like pushing for Diddy to be freed or that he's innocent on this. Yeah, he's innocent until proven guilty, but there are still people that are rooting for Diddy to be freed, which you have to also consider the victims because no matter how much you want to, there are victims out there. Some may not be true, some may be true, some may be alive, some may not be alive, but there are victims out there. Think about that.
What happened, or what has happened in court today?
It was a pretty big day in court, Connell. We actually learned that Diddy was offered a plea deal in this case, which he rejected. Not really a surprise that when one was put on the table, he said no. He has vehemently maintained his innocence this entire time. I could not see a world where he would accept any kind of plea deal. So we heard that today. The other big takeaway from court, and we are in crunch time now, just less than 2 weeks before this is going to start and go to trial. The now infamous video of Diddy and Cassie in that hotel room where he is seen allegedly attacking her will be played in court for jurors. Now,
everybody keeps referring to that video. That video itself, it just like its character, whatever. But now I think there is also an article where I saw that he's gonna say, or this is said allegedly, anyways, that they are gonna bring the mental health angle, whatever. This is wild, but he rejected the plea deal. I'm wondering what the plea deal was like or what it was. I'm wondering what that was. Anybody got an idea?
Original video, the original surveillance doesn't exist anymore. So we have a copy that was obtained by CNN. So, obtained by CNN, yes. And it was taken by a cell phone video. So you're going to have the person who took the video testifying in court and independent people there that are going to authenticate it. But the jury is going to see that. The other types of evidence that they're going to see is going to be video of these alleged freak-offs, these sex parties that Diddy had. And this is going to be an important thing about jury selection. One of the things that the defense wants to ask prospective jurors about is whether or not they are comfortable viewing this kind of content and whether they are comfortable with people having multiple sexual partners. Really, they don't want a prudish jury who off the bat is going to see this type of behavior, which they have always maintained was absolutely consensual on both sides, to look at that as reprehensible on their way in there. So those were the two really big takeaways today in court. Diddy was in that courthouse for, a little while. It wasn't a very long hearing. This is one of our last pre-trial hearings before jury selection begins.
All right, interesting. We're going to talk about all of that in a minute. Anything on his demeanor? Anything on from that we picked up from Diddy today?
Yeah, it was different than usual. He got into the courtroom with his pad of paper and his pen, really intently ready to just take notes. And he looked back into the gallery where he usually sees a row of family members and friends, supporters of his. But when he turned around and looked in the gallery, none of his children were there today. And he visibly looked upset. Now, about 10 minutes into the hearing, his son Justin did come in and sit in the gallery. Did he turn a second time, looked directly at him, kind of nodded and acknowledged that his son was in the courtroom today. But you could really tell that it impacted him when he turned back and did not see any kind of friendly face, Connell.
All right, Caitlin Becker for us.
Obviously, that video is going to play crucial to his character judgment. And I don't think, anyways, people can shock you, sure, but I don't really think any juror or jury is going to be comfortable with that type of activity. A man putting his paws. Yeah, talk about um having sex with multiple people, the freak off, whatever. And for me, the freak off is, I don't really think that is even the crucial part in this. So obviously, this is sketchy, right? It is sketchy. And since they're going to bring the race card, you have to look at the other angle too. Because obviously, race is going to play here. They're going to, and since I saw an article talking about the mental state, they're going to bring mental. I'm looking at it like, okay, something about this is fishy. It's scary too. But somebody also pointed that out, like, what if he didn't go to jail, he did it on time, or he didn't do time, or he doesn't do time? What if he just so happened to be house arrest, or maybe was set free? And you have to weigh out the options, because they are going to play it and let you remember that he was once this nice guy, just like what the other lawyer said. He was once a nice guy, and all that, how he helped so many people in Hollywood and all that. They're just gonna paint, which of course they're gonna paint that narrative. But the race, the mental is what I'm looking like. These people know exactly what they're going to do. And for him to gather his mind to reject the plea deal, that is that plea deal that I want to know too. I want to know what he was offered, which is gonna be interesting. But let me know what your thoughts are. Obviously, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that stuff. And until next time, see you in the next video.